Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Field Notes, Insights and Observations for the Travel Marketer. My name is Eric Hulker, and today we are live at Atlantic City for the New Jersey Tourism Industry Association Conference, obviously, on tourism. And for this episode, we're going to Elizabeth, and we're talking with Jennifer Costa about what's going on in that part of the world. And as I said, my guest today, Jennifer, how are you?
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here at the NJTIA conference and getting to meet you.
Yes, this is it's super fun to do these live because typically I do them via Zoom, and so it's nice to be in person. I want to start though before we get in and talk about Elizabeth. I want to talk to you about how you got here, because you have a sort of an interesting path in that you start with a bachelor's of science and end up with a master's of diplomacy, and now you're working in tourism. How does that work, Jennifer?
Life comes full circle. We'll start with my father. My parents actually had a travel agency back in the 80s.
Okay, gotcha.
And they said, Jennifer, do you want to get involved in tourism? And I said, no, absolutely not. Our whole family is doing this. Well, life came full circle and caught me. But I did some federal work abroad, worked for the American Embassy in Lisbon. I worked for the Portuguese government to the United Nations.
What got you over to Portugal and Spain?
So I'm half Portuguese.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and half Polish as well. But with my dad immigrating from there, frequently traveled. And my background with studies was international relations with a bachelor's and then the master's in diplomacy. So I took a global perspective of worldly travels. In the midst of all of that, I also got a builder's license, and so I was doing residential construction. You want to fast forward, I worked for a Portuguese developer who was building a hotel, and with a lot of community involvement, volunteering, and staying local despite travels abroad and commitment to service, it kind of all fell together, being able to use construction and hotels, being able to use international travels, family experiences of running a travel agency and working with tour operators. So being able to build the brand for the city of Elizabeth 10 years ago truly was a dream that I didn't even know I was looking for.
What a pedigree, though, to be able to do that. Because you have a view that most people coming into that role would not have, right? Yeah. And how does that help you when, you said 10 years ago, which means we're not allowed to say the COVID word, but you went through all of that, and you went through the boom after that, and then the lull after that. How does your view of the world allow you to kind of navigate through that stuff? Because Elizabeth is doing some amazing things. And if you're not familiar with Elizabeth, and people might not if they don't get to the East Coast very often, but you've done some incredible work there. How do you stay steady through all of the changes that are currently happening in travel?
So it definitely has to say, having a conviction to the brand. The product sells itself. We have amazing restaurants. We have amazing nightlife. We have amazing hotels, shopping. So when you have a good structure of a good product, it's just telling the story. Keeping up with technology was critical, especially during COVID, because we had to pivot. But despite furloughs, despite shutdowns, we were visible virtually in international countries promoting Elizabeth as well as New Jersey. So it's staying ahead of technology and staying connected to our partners, which leads us into the reason why we were founded 10 years ago was because of Gordon Haas and an original grant from NJ State Tourism, which was Stop, Shop, and Play at 13A. So that was the core of how we started. From there, the rest is history. But it was truly because of the Chamber of Commerce and the support that we had from our administration of Mayor J. Christian Bolwich and City Council that we were able to build a destination that previously was never branded.
That's awesome. So you obviously had a run-in with one of my favorite marketing stories in the history of marketing, the Guinness Book of World Records, right? Yes. Developed so that people would spend more time in pubs drinking Guinness. Can you talk about that story and what was the record?
Sure. So what was the reason? We'll start with that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll start with that. So the city of Elizabeth is a city of firsts. Some of many, like the Singer Sewing Factory. We had the starting point for New Jersey, 1664, where we were founded. But the Elizabeth is the original birthplace of the United States submarine force.
Oh, wow.
We built the first submarine that was sold to the U.S. Navy. So here, that's history from umpteen years ago. And at the site now of where that was built is a school number 28. So we have generations of children that are passing through these schools that had no idea.
Yeah.
So how do we bring history to life? And so myself and Dr. Reverend Lundy from my team, we kind of came up with this crazy idea of let's make our kids relive history in their own way of telling their story. And so we got them t-shirts of I'm Making History, Guinness World Record. We brought in the judicator, and we actually formed with our school children, hundreds of them, the largest human formation of a submarine.
That's amazing.
So it was quite an endeavor, especially because of the weather, and it was getting warm, but the teachers were phenomenal. Our Elizabeth Board of Education was truly supportive, and it brought history to life. So a legacy from the past is now being spoken about in the hallways of the school, at families, at home, and it didn't stop there. We even had, through the Board of Education, our students have a welding program. And I have a chamber member who has a welding shop that sells pieces for the submarine. And so we put everyone together, and the children during the summer sculpted a massive sculpture of a submarine.
Wow.
And so we had the Commodore from the United States Navy come and commence the sculpture, as well as officially deem Elizabeth the birthplace of the submarine force.
What a great story.
Thank you.
So one of the things out of that, though, is this idea of not only innovation, but obviously a curiosity, right? What you and your colleague did, like, starts with a curiosity about what if, right? And many times in tourism, people, and you see it here, right? People have worked in their given DMO or their chamber or their combined, and we'll talk about that in a second, for many, many years. And it's easy to kind of get in a rut or a trap or a circle. What is it, Jennifer, that you and your team do that continually pushes that innovation, right? Like, you could have stopped, many people would have stopped at a Guinness record and went, okay, that's the end of it. But you went, I think there's more here. How do you continue that innovation muscle, or that curiosity muscle?
So I think it's learning best practices from other destinations outside of New Jersey, and also from our partners here locally. But it's seeing what other people are doing and taking best practices. But there's one rule in the office: we have to think out of the box. If someone else is doing it, how can we do it differently to make a greater impact? And so it's, again,
how do you build that culture? I want to stop there just for a second, right? Because it's very easy to say that phrase, and you hear it all the time. We need to think outside the box. But in practice, how do you course correct a team member who's coming in and that's not where they came from? Like, how does that work in real life?
So it's been a journey for us, because 10 years and there was never marketing materials prior. And so it's really brainstorming sessions, it's teamwork, it's working under pressure. And they say diamonds are made under pressure.
Sure.
Well, we've been under pressure because of circumstances, to prove that Elizabeth, being the oldest city in the state of New Jersey, is equally a destination that deserves a spotlight, like so many of our other destinations across the state.
So one of the things that we've been dancing around that I want to make sure we have time to talk about today is the connection between the DMO and a chamber. And can you talk about that synergy and how well that helps you, number one, be innovative and curious, and most importantly, get human beings to come visit and have a good time?
So a DMO, Destination Marketing Organization. We are marketing outside the area and within the surrounding area to get people to come in. We got to give them a reason to come in. You can have really good hotels, but if you don't tell the story of the hotels and what's right outside the doors, so it's also working with the restaurants and the unique experiences of what they're offering, whether it's the culinary dishes or the performances. The Ritz Theater is one of our partners. So it's a matter of connecting locally and telling that story authentically. And they're always pushing the envelope of what's new. I mean, we have a venue called Barcode. It's an entertainment nightlife complex that can hold several thousand people, and they're bringing Vegas-style nightlife to New Jersey. So it's empowering our entrepreneurs through the chamber, and then having another layer of tourism and marketing to tell that story. And it's been a domino effect for 10 years. And during COVID, we planted seeds, and we're so grateful and so blessed to now have a forest.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're going to get back home in time for Candy Canes and Cocktails. But one of the things I wanted to make sure that we kind of hit on are some of the other things that happened this year that you found particularly successful, and maybe the lessons you learned out of those campaigns.
So thank you for that. Unfortunately, for reasons that be, our computers were wiped clean, and we literally had to restart.
Oh, that's fun. That seems super fun.
We had to pivot.
Yeah.
And so in terms of campaigns, we had to get creative and repurpose. So when we're thinking of campaigns that were run, we did things with Beasley Media and radio. We did international campaigns ahead of World Cup, because we didn't know which countries up until recent December 5th. So we were already going after countries that we know travel for soccer, and serving some ads strategically. So we have one running right now, which is stay at the center of it all, because where Elizabeth is positioned with Terminal A of Newark International Airport, we're close to New York, and we're 25 minutes away from the arena. But we have access by train, by plane, to other areas. So Stay at the Center of It All has been an extremely successful campaign, aside from Condé Nast and print publications, USA Media, and USA Today. So it really varies, but we're pivoting in TV. We're pivoting in radio. We're also doing strategic demographic targeted advertisements. And so, yeah, it's been working really well for us.
That's awesome. I will let you get to the conference, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. I will not ask you your favorite, because that's not fair, but one of my favorite things when I travel is to travel like a local. So if I'm coming to Elizabeth for the first time, there's going to be obvious places I'm going to go because the tourism will tell me where to go. But if I wanted to, let's say, grab a cup of coffee like a local, or go to a grocery store, like, what's the place that I should make sure to check out, or maybe a couple that I wouldn't know to do my first time in town?
Okay, so Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
Sopranos was inspired, the meat market was inspired down in old Peterstown, Elizabeth. Okay. So you have a place called Santani's, which is where they congregated and they filmed. But around the block, you have someone that you can meet, John Sacco. He is like authentic Elizabeth and has all iconic stories. And his chicken cutlets with sweet peppers are absolutely amazing. So if you want to have lunch in a butcher shop, you got to go down to Peterstown and meet John Sacco.
That is amazing. Jennifer, thank you so much for the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Enjoy the conference.
Thanks so much for having me.
Anything I did not ask you that you wanted me to ask you?
No, it was the Guinness World Record, 10 years of tourism. I think we covered the 250th.
Okay.
And maybe that's something we can edit in. That
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
That's easy.
Okay, great.
So, Jennifer, you mentioned World Cup and soccer, and obviously everybody is talking about that, certainly here at the conference. But the other thing, since we're on the East Coast, is the 250th. What does that mean to you, and in your visioning and innovation? What do you have planned?
So many exciting things. Our mayor and Dr. Lundy and Amy from the library, it's an original Carnegie library, they're commissioning, and there are committee people that are working with residents and community members across the county and the city, because we were the original capital. So there are going to be mega events happening to tell the story of our founding fathers that came through Elizabeth, like Marquis de Lafayette, Alexander Hamilton.
I've heard of him.
Yes. Well, when he came from the Caribbean, his first stop was Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Yep.
So when we have iconic founding fathers who got their footprints in Elizabeth, known immigration, and then took that to inspire the rest of the world and how we were started. So in terms of events, we are putting together something called the Descendants Conference. We have one of the oldest cemeteries in the state of New Jersey. And in that cemetery was found enslaved members that originally were undocumented in terms of nobody knew who they were.
Sure.
Well, we found archives. There is an amazing 313 monument. So Black history is coming to life in Elizabeth. And so we're telling their stories, and we're having a Descendants Conference of where people are meeting virtually right now that were from the ancestors of the original people that are buried in the cemetery. They're meeting monthly, and now come October in 2026, they're going to be coming from all across the country to meet in person. And so we're going to be learning about slavery. We're going to be having the difficult conversations of healing, which is part of the narrative of how America has come to be. And these are things that we pride ourselves on wanting to learn and to teach so history doesn't repeat itself. So it's the conference. We're also doing, everyone knows Bridgerton. We're doing a Bridgerton ball, an Elizabethtown ball, engaging in the community. We're anticipating over 600 people with horse-drawn carriages going down Elizabeth. So if there's any fans, that's going to be an event surely not to miss.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.